Jeff Martin here from resetmeditation.com. I like using the hand as the first step in a learning tool for meditation because we're so used to feeling with it and it's so available, easy to talk about in pieces. It's convenient. It's a convenient place to start. And so I am going to work through verbally my hand and just as I go. So I'm going to verbalize it, which is something we use as a coaching tool, but it takes you a little less deep. This is essentially what it is. It keeps you a little shallow in the meditation. So it's not something that you need to do all the time. I would highly recommend not doing it all the time, but it's useful to do as you're learning it, both to show someone else what to do, as in this case, but also when we're using it as coaching, we have you do it as well so we can see that you are doing what we think you're doing, right? So that it's clear communication. And so I'm going to go ahead and step through different parts of my hand here, and I'm going to verbally describe it. So I'm just going to let my hand relax at my side like I more normally would. And so I'm starting with the left tip of my pinky. So I'm just doing the left hand, and it's the tip of the pinky that I'm starting with. And there's like a tingly sensation there. And then as I start to move down, I can feel underneath the nail just a little bit of my heartbeat. And that goes right into the first knuckle down you encounter there. I can feel the heartbeat through there well. And it's even a little stronger as I move below that first knuckle. So through there, strongest sensation is definitely the heartbeat. When I get into that second knuckle, there is something different there, a different sensation. It's a little bit, it's not tension necessarily, but a little bit of tightness, something like that. All right. And as I move further down before I get to the base knuckle, there's almost like a puffiness kind of. I mean, I'm not moving, I'm not touching it, I'm not feeling it, but it feels kind of like a squishy-ness to it. And then in that base knuckle, it's not exactly tingly, and it's not exactly twitchy. It feels like it wants to twitch, but isn't twitching. Somewhere in between those two things. And so as I move over, I'm now going to go to the base knuckle, so the bottom knuckle of the ring finger. And that one feels, I'm having a hard time focusing on the area. Like my awareness, my attention wants to spread out and go up. So I'm kind of feeling the rest of the ring finger, but it also wants to go down into the palm. So it doesn't want to stay there. It wants to move. My awareness wants to move out, and then my mind wants to jump to like work emails and a message I just left for the lawyer over some complications there, and that type of stuff. So I'm gonna take a second and probably go a little quiet and focus on trying to get my awareness into the base knuckle of the ring finger there. All right. So it still wants to move around. The attention wants to move around a little more. So it takes just a little more effort to get in there, but I can feel it well, and it feels essentially how I think you should feel things without, like, in my preconceived notions of how you should just be able to feel something, some part of your body. That's what it feels like now. And which is funny because the body almost never actually feels like that, which is really odd. And then as I move up, just above that, before I get to the next knuckle, I can feel the front and back of the finger well, but the sides of the finger in that area, the parts nearest the other fingers, the neighboring fingers, I don't feel as much. And as I focus on them, they come a little more into awareness. I essentially feel like the air because I have my fingers a little parted. And so I feel the air in between the fingers there, just kind of, doing what it's doing, aware of it, but nothing in particular special. As I move up into that next knuckle, I feel a little bit of a strain, kind of like a muscle working type of strain, or a muscle that has been worked, not that it's currently working. And then as I move up that section, I feel the front of the finger, like the palm side of the ring finger there, well. The back side I feel less well, and as I focus on that, there's a little bit of like throbbiness there, a little bit of just, it's not really uncomfortable. It just feels, well, I guess uncomfortable, very slightly uncomfortable, essentially. And as I move up into that top knuckle and into the tip of the ring finger, I feel a nice tingly sensation on the palm side of the finger and wrapping around to the sides. See, and then my attention right there, as I was bringing it into the tip of that ring finger, it wanted to shoot down and move down that whole finger again. And the whole finger became kind of tingly. And then kind of wanted to move the attention down into the palm as well there. And so the attention really does like want to shift around on this ring finger. But if I bring it back up to the tip of the ring finger there, then I get around the nail is basically the only part that I haven't been through yet. And that feels, I mean, a tiny bit of pressure, essentially what I would expect to feel in the nail area. And so I'm going to jump across and go to the tip of the middle finger on my left hand. And there I get my awareness wants to become aware of the whole finger quite well. Like the whole finger is kind of tingly right until I get down to the base of the finger. And then there's like not a tension there, almost not a swelling either. I'm hesitant to say a swelling, but it is something like that. And so bringing it back to the tip of that finger, a little bit of tingliness there. Nothing special around the nail, but I can feel it in the joint though, in that first joint going down in the middle finger of the left hand. I can feel, and it's more tingly, especially on the palm side, and with a tendency to try to pull it closed, essentially. And now as I move further down that same side of the finger, the palm side of the finger, in between that first joint down and the next joint is even more that way. It's a little more tingly and it wants to pull that finger in just slightly. The back side is also slightly tingly, but less, not exactly tension, but a tendency towards tension, something like that. As I move further down, that same type of feeling is essentially just like growing. So that palm side of the finger is as like a tingly tension or ready to be tense kind of mode to it. And the backside, although the backside of the lower part of the middle finger actually is a little tingly as well. Like I said, when I first went to this finger, the whole thing kind of was tingly. And then that base knuckle on the middle finger is, I mean, it feels almost like a slight inflammation, something like that. Well, I did just go hiking. You don't have to worry about what you did that's causing these types of things. But when you're swinging your arms a lot, when you're hiking, sometimes you'll get that little bit of puffiness in your hands. That's what it feels like. And it feels like that in the base finger of the middle finger, but also the base knuckle also of the pointer finger. And as I move up the pointer finger, actually in that base knuckle, there's also a little bit of what I would call uncomfortableness. And so in a little bit of that uncomfortableness kind of shooting up, especially on the palm side of the finger into the next joint up, although up the back side as well a little. So in that middle knuckle on the pointer finger is a little uncomfortable. It just doesn't feel particularly good, essentially. And then as I move up from there, there's kind of just a warm awareness and almost like little prickliness around the skin all the way around that section of the finger. And then as I move into the top knuckle of the pointer finger, there is just kind of a good feeling. I can just feel that it's there. It feels really like solid, stable, essentially. And as I move into the tip of the pointer finger, there's almost a trembliness there in the tip above that joint. So I'm going to come down that finger again, then start going across to in between the fingers and the thumb, and that section feels like pre-twitchy, like it wants to twitch, but it's just before a muscle starts twitching. That's what it feels like. And as I go into the base knuckle of the thumb, it's a similar feeling, but almost like I'm ready to grab something, like the muscle's ready, essentially in a ready state. And now as I move up the thumb, that feeling continues right up the thumb, because my awareness wants to move up the whole thumb, or it's easy to. It's being drawn in that direction. And it's really easy to feel along the palm side. But as I move my awareness to the back of the thumb, there's not a ton there. There is on the sides and there is on the palm side, but there's less awareness of the sensations on the back side of the thumb. And just feeling there, I can just kind of lightly feel the air there, nothing too special. Although in the joint of the thumb, that top joint of the thumb, I can feel a bit more there. And yeah, I can just feel more there. And then around the nail, I can feel the pressure of where the nail presses against the skin, that type of thing. So now I'm going to move down, and those are pretty easy to verbally describe, but I'm going to move down and I'm going to move into that fleshy part below the thumb region. And the backside of the hand just feels like a little damp, like a little sweaty. It's a hot day, that type of thing. And the front side of it feels the palm side of that area feels just a little puffy, a little padded, and it's just resting against my leg. So I can feel that pressure there. As I move down the bone, I'm just going to use the carpals essentially. So down around the bone area that comes down from the pointer finger through the rest of the hand to the wrist region, I feel a nice, like, kind of warm, smooth feeling essentially along the palm side of the hand. Deeper in, I'm feeling deep into the hand really well, and it feels kind of solid and stable there. And along the back of the hand is the same type of feeling, just kind of like that very slightly damp from sweat evaporating type of feeling. As I move over to the next area, which is below, going through the rest of the hand below the middle finger, I feel, well, my attention there now wants to be pulled back into the thumb region. So I'm going to focus back over to the area below the middle finger. And that area is just harder to focus on. I'm very aware of the base knuckle of the middle finger, but once I get below that, I'm having a hard time focusing on it. My attention wants to be pulled towards the pinky, towards the thumb, up towards the finger. It wants to move all over the place. Okay, but as I take a second to really focus on it, being quiet there for a second, and focus on it, feels kind of smooth, solid, feels good, feels strong. As I move over into the ring finger area, that through that section of the hand also feels good. Feels kind of a little loose, a little soft, relaxed, something like that. And then as I move over to the area of the pinky, it feels even a little more in that direction, of kind of soft, loose, relaxed, flexible, something like that. All right, so that's a decent amount, right? Just going through the hand, just the sensations. And now what will often happen is that when you're not verbalizing, you'll get more of an emotional reaction. You'll get more memories or fantasies, whatever that comes up in the mind. By verbalizing it, some of that stuff is kind of cut short, I think, just because you're taking up so much of your data feed by verbalizing it itself. And that's okay. It's a good training tool. So I just wanted to have you hear me walk through how I just focus my awareness on my hand, feel the sensations that are there. I'm not trying to change them. I'm just observing them. But when I'm going through it silently, I'm not putting words on it. I'm not trying to describe it to myself. I'm just feeling what is there. And that is the key, to feel what is there.